Welcome to Family Business World. I'm your host, Dr. Dale Caldwell, and I have a wonderful guest and a friend, Valerie Drew, a cybersecurity consultant. Welcome, Valerie. How are you?
I'm doing well, Dale. Thanks for the invite.
Well, again,
How are you doing?
Oh, doing pretty well. Doing pretty well. I'm happy to have you on the show because you are so knowledgeable. I mean, we won't get through, a quarter of what you know, but I always like to begin so that the audience knows our guests. Tell me about you. Where were you born? Where did you go to school? How did you end up with technology?
Absolutely. I was born and raised in Newark, New Jersey, so I'm a native New Jerseyan. I went through the public school system, so yes to the public school system.
All right.
I grew up in the South Ward section of Newark. I went to Belmont Ryan School, Hudson Street, Clinton Place, Arts High.
Oh, Arts High, okay.
And yes, Arts High, I'm a piano player. Small fact, not too many people know that. And I did my education, my higher education at NJIT in engineering, Georgia Tech, University of Maryland, and now the American Military University.
Where you're getting your doctorate, you're going through a doctoral program. Having done that, my hat's off to anybody who's doing that, and you're doing really well. You're doing really well. Let's talk about cybersecurity and technology. This is the family business world where we're talking to family businesses and small businesses. Most of them know nothing about technology other than how to turn on their computer and send emails and send documents. If you're talking to a family business group now, what are some of the first things that you would say to them about knowing technology?
So the first thing is, it's not really technology as much as it is having a sound plan of security for your business. It's just as if you were to have money within your facility, you would have a safe. You wouldn't just keep money lying around.
Right.
You have to safeguard your assets. Your professional integrity is important. So you want to make sure that you are secured. I always start off by asking a bunch of questions. And these are very simple questions just for people to get a baseline. So I'm just going to direct my attention a little bit to my other screen.
And if you're listening, get a pen and paper and write down these questions. Make sure you write down these questions.
So the first question that I always ask people is, how many people share the same login ID and password on a computer? So sometimes, nowadays, there are a lot of laptops and things, but there may be that one computer that you use to log into a particular account, or if you're doing some type of auditing, or if you order things, there may be one system that you use and everyone uses the same password and ID.
Right.
That's a definite no-no. And you see this more often than not, even with technology companies. You will hear administrators of a system say, hey, what's the administrative password and ID? That drives me bonkers when I witness this. That's like giving someone the PIN. That's like giving a teenager your card, your ATM card, and the PIN when they're going to South Beach on vacation. You just don't do that.
Right.
Another question that I ask is, how many people share the same login and password to a particular application? And where I'm going with this is especially your financial application where you do your accounting.
Right.
A lot of times you may have the bookkeeper who inputs the information, you may have the owner who goes in, and they may not go in frequently, so they don't remember their password. So they would just say, oh, just give me your ID and password.
Right.
You don't want to do that. That's just not a good thing. The best case scenario I can say with this is, it's like sharing a toothbrush. It's just like a very bad habit to do. It's not good hygiene. Just don't do it at all.
Right. So, as you begin to think about that, and those are things we just take for granted. I have to ask the password question. I got a password for everything. I mean, they're like, I have 40 passwords. How do people remember? Is there a safe place to store passwords? Maybe not your phone.
There are safe places to store passwords, but I have a recipe for creating passwords.
Oh, you do? Okay.
So yes. So my recipe is something that you like. the favorite age, or the age that you had a lot of fun,
Right.
and some place where you want to go. So a combination of these things, or if you want to use the word ocean, instead of using the letter O, you could use the number 0.
Right. Right.
Different combinations like that. That's your own way of always remembering. And
Interesting.
not only that, it's a great way to start your day. You're thinking about, oh, I always wanted to go there. And that's
Right.
part of, every time you type your password, it sort of brightens your day.
Yeah.
So it's just a good way to start. But to answer your question, yes, there are wallets that you can use. I personally do not use them.
Right.
I use that mental method of remembering different things. So whenever I'm dealing with anything financial or related to banking, I have one mindset. When I'm logging in to do work for clients, I have another mindset.
Right.
And when I'm doing something for my not-for-profits, I have a different mindset. And that's how I remember my passwords.
Wonderful. That's great. That's great advice. So, one of the things that that I'm seeing with family and businesses and even big businesses is now this holding them hostage by invading their computer system and shutting things down and asking for ransom, the ransomware. Talk about that. What is that? Most people don't have any idea how that works. But illuminate us.
So it's basically, it's like someone being able to get into your house and change the locks and not let you in.
Right.
Basically.
Right.
All of your valuables are pretty much kept on your computer. And so the best defense against something like that is an offense, right? Your best defense is an offense.
Right.
And so there's a strategy for doing that. So it starts with a computer policy or a cyber incident policy.
Okay.
And when you create this, there are a lot of free templates online. Not all templates are for every business or type of business. And it's very easy to think through what type of incident policy works for us.
Right.
But you should always have that written down, how you're going to react and respond should it happen.
Right.
Because the first thing you're going to do is panic. I can guarantee you're going to panic.
Absolutely.
As you start realizing what is happening, the beads of sweat starts coming and you're not going to think properly. And this incident response is not something you keep on your computer, right?
Right.
I mean, you can't get to it.
Right.
It's something that you print off, you put in a notebook, and you place in the safe at your business. And you keep a copy at home. And when the incident occurs, you go to your playbook.
Right.
It's just like you're playing a football game, and it's, the last quarter, you're on a 10-yard line, it's tied, you gotta win.
Right.
Go to your playbook, you execute the strategy that you've already put in place. So how does that strategy look?
Right.
The
Right.
first thing is you call your lawyer.
Right.
That you always call your attorney, let him know what's going on. You notify the police. You contact your IT support person. They may actually already know.
Right.
And they may actually already they're starting to work on it. That is not the time to ask your IT support person what happened,
Right.
what are you going to do, blah, blah, blah. It's intuitive to feel that way,
Right.
but that is not the time to do that. You actually execute on your playbook. Ransomware is when someone takes over your computer or computer systems or applications and lock you out of it.
Right. Right.
And they demand funds in order to unlock the computer. What they will also say to you, it starts with, you will see a countdown, a clock, if you will, that will show up. That's never a good sign.
Right. Right.
So when you do that, execute your strategy, know what you're doing. Critical data, critical information, you always have to have backups for.
And so now how do you back up? Well, first of all, do you as a cybersecurity consultant, do you help businesses develop those plans?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely. And it's something that if you should have cybersecurity insurance.
Right. Okay.
Every business should have cybersecurity insurance. And the better insurance companies will ask for you to have a incident plan or a cybersecurity strategy. And some insurance companies may have a template, but you have to select and create the one that's right for you. The insurance company wants you to develop a template, period. They're not necessarily interested in you getting back right away. So you have to be careful in which template you take, what you complete, how you're going to execute on it. It has to be fit for purpose, if you will.
Well, now, again, if somebody wants to, do you have a website or an email address you'd like to share for people to reach out to you in case they want to avail themselves?
I think the fastest way to reach me is through LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, okay.
And it's very, very simple. You just go to LinkedIn/Valerie Drew.
Perfect.
And I'm right there.
Perfect, excellent.
Or they could always contact you and you could contact me.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. And so again, this is a day and age, and so as we're coming out of COVID and we're doing more Zoom calls as we're doing now, more WebEx calls, more Google Hangout, et cetera, you know, what are some of the risks? You know, I know people have broken into those and done some very obnoxious things on that. Are there some protocols that you know of just to be safe with these kinds of conversations online?
So, yeah, so basically I tell people you should limit your number of individuals who are going to access your meetings, right? There are ways of locking that down. You definitely want to lock that down. You don't, again, the sharing of passwords and host codes and other information like that is very key. This is a great example of not sharing that type of information. Things that companies do not do that they should do. As people leave the corporation, you need to change and lock down certain passwords and IDs. If that individual had accounts with some of your vendors, you need to make sure those accounts are closed out for that particular person.
Right. Interesting. So as we look at you know, dealing with people coming back to work, you know, coming back into the office, going back into what used to be a normal routine. Are there some risks that get their standard risks? And you know, I've talked about you know, some of the things out there. Are there some things that companies should really think about as people are starting to come back in? Should they change passwords? Should they, you know, reintroduce the security protocol? You know, one of the things that my consulting firm, we're talking about reboarding now. It's not onboarding, but reboarding, that people are coming back in. And so the cybersecurity should be part of this reboarding. Any thoughts about that?
So there should always be a clear training program within your organization about best practices and good hygiene on computer usage. Every company should have a computer usage policy where all employees sign after they complete their training. And good computer usage policies are things like, you know, I'm a big advocate of not allowing individuals to check personal emails. Now, depending upon which country you operate in, this may not be a viable option for you, because in Europe, they are allowed to check their private emails, but there are ways that you can filter through and keep that secured as well. But definitely have a strong computer usage policy. Remind individuals that cute little puppy that's free for download, or those calendars and things, may have what is referred to as a payload inside of them, where they can actually download into the company's network and environment and then wreak havoc within the organization. So you have to be careful with payloads.
So let's stop there. We're going to break for a quick commercial break, and then we'll come back, and I want to talk about, you know, those cute little icons and you know, and some other images. So we'll be back with Valerie Drew, an excellent cybersecurity consultant.
Thank you.
Sponsored by Dr. Jacqueline. Take charge of your life personally, financially, and professionally. Visit drjacqueline.com to book an appointment today.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
Welcome back to Family Business World. We're coming out of the commercial break with Valerie Drew, a cybersecurity consultant, and Valerie and I were talking about some real life examples. So let the audience hear. What are some of the examples that you think it's important for them to hear now?
So one of the examples I think that's really important is something called phishing emails. And so phishing emails is not the fishing with the pole,
Fishing
but
rod.
phishing through, sending emails to people. It's called social engineering also, when it can be a phone call followed up by an email. And so someone who fell victim to this was Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank.
Right, from Shark Tank, Corcoran,
So this occurred with Barbara, let's see, when did this happen? I got involved with this, that's right, this happened this year with Barbara. And basically Barbara has a bookkeeper, I'm not going to say her name, but there was someone who sent an email. They understood a lot of people put their business email addresses on their business cards and things. And what a lot of hackers do and attackers do is similar to the technique that I gave you about if you like fishing or swimming, instead of using the capital O, you could use a zero. They did something similar like that. And pretending to be someone they were not, and they had a communication going between Barbara's bookkeeper and her assistant, and they were able to get $388,700 US transferred from her account.
Oh my goodness.
Into another account. What caught the issue was when the bookkeeper sent back an email at the end of the day saying, yes, I've done the transfer. By then it was too late. They could not get the funds back.
Really? Wow.
And so I'm going to talk about why they could not get that back through the bank and how that works. They actually did a wire transfer.
Okay.
So anytime you're sending any amount of money, I always tell everyone, even if it's a wire transfer, it starts with a conversation.
Yeah.
You have a conversation with the individual, and so as you know, I do a lot of work with Wall Street firms.
Right.
And so one of the things that I designed is I'm going to do a confirmation with you that I'm doing a transfer. You're going to affirm the confirmation back to me. And we're going to do that verbally, especially for small businesses. Now, larger companies use applications to do this, and it works pretty well with them because they have secure connections with each other.
Right.
But in today's time, there's no reason, if you have a bookkeeper and this bookkeeper is sending out money to multiple places, there's no reason why you should not do a conversation. It takes 5 minutes
Right.
to confirm the numbers.
Right.
And you should have that conversation. And the reason for that is because there's something called commercially responsible efforts. And what people don't realize is that FDIC insured means for the individual.
Right.
But from a business perspective, banks only have to prove that they did what was commercially responsible in order to protect you.
Oh,
They
interesting.
do not have to protect your business investments, your business transfers. That is your responsibility.
Interesting.
So I like to refer to it as the banking, technology, and policies that every company should have.
Yeah.
So with all of your banking practices, your banking rules, you need to have policies surrounding how you're going to do your banking. I'm also an MBA like yourself, and I typically advise that it's very important to understand what that process and what that policy is, and you do a 4-eye check. It's not just one person
Right.
signing off on funds going out, but 2 people.
Right.
It's much less likely that you are going to get hacked with 2 different people within the organization having to sign off on it. The next thing is that will become your policy.
Right.
That is your process that you use, which is really important. And if you're using technology is not your brain.
Right.
So technology is a tool. Use your tools appropriately. Everything isn't a nail where you have to hammer it with technology. So apply it where it needs to be applied, but common sense prevails.
Yeah. Well, see, this is great. This is great advice, and as you said, common sense prevails. So you can't really circumvent people completely and expect it to be safe. What you're saying is that once you get people involved, that helps to make it even more secure.
Absolutely.
Other examples of things that you've seen. I know you've seen a lot. We've talked about a lot. Anything else you want to share related to?
So yes, I'm now directing my attention to my other screen. So currently right now I'm investigating something. There was a huge data and voice outage with a lot of the internet service providers, Verizon, so forth and so on this week. And we have not received a clear explanation as to what the outage was about. So that's an ongoing investigation by myself and a lot of other researchers that we're doing right now. But also in April, and to be more specific, the week of April 22nd of this year, SBA actually suffered a data breach.
Wow,
and
really?
This was regarding the economic injury disaster loan portal.
The IDLE,
What the actual data breach is that if you're putting in your loan application at the SBA and you hit the back button,
Right.
I'm gonna get a little technical. So
Yeah,
you
that's
have
it.
something called caching. You know how you can go forward or you
Right.
can go back and see
Right.
your information?
Yeah.
Well, here what occurred is that if you were to hit the back button, you could actually view the screen of another applicant.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Wow.
Yes, so you can literally see what they were putting in. So about 8,000 small businesses were compromised with this particular information. There should have been, if you contact the SBA, they will help you, with seeing if any of your information has been used, making sure your information is locked down. But it's always important that whenever you're doing anything online or you're dealing with someone online, I tell people go in very early or very late. Don't go in doing,
Right.
high peak time like the 9 to 5. That's when everyone's on.
Right.
It's not good to go during those times anyway because there's usually it's slower. There's a lot of people on it.
Right.
But if you go early in the morning, you tend to zip through. You get to know what it's about, and it just makes everything a lot faster. I'm not saying don't use the portal. Use portals of things, but just
Right.
be mindful of what you're doing and how you're doing it.
Well, one of the things that was very, very clear is that, government doesn't move quickly. And so they turn these programs around so quickly. And the IT, I know in New Jersey and other places, the IT wasn't up to snuff. Even I mentioned in my show that even the Secretary of Treasury said, oh, well, this PPL, you'll be able to get your money in a day. Nothing works in a day in government. And so they really underestimated the capacity. So I think we will probably find out some more breaches, right? Down the road, we'll hear about things that we don't know about. You may know about it because you're on the inside, but some things we don't really even know about. So again, what about the home? Everybody's using their home Wi-Fi, for calls and Zoom and WebEx and so on. Is there anything we should be scared about using our home Wi-Fi?
If you have teenagers at home or people who like to talk to people they don't know and they're on chat places and they're doing different things, you have to be mindful that you are although you're behind a router, which is protecting your environment, you are in a somewhat open environment, if you will, because they're doing a lot of things. They're downloading games, they're doing specific things. Me personally, I have a separate environment just for my work environment where no one has access to it.
Okay.
Yes, it's a little more expensive, yes, but to me, that extra $50 a month is a peace of mind.
Right.
Also, when I travel, I never ever use the hotel Wi-Fi. I have this little device. I don't know if you can see it.
Okay, yeah.
This is, my personal VPN. It's my personal hotspot. Up to
good.
5 devices can connect to it and go out to the internet. And so it's an additional $30 a month with your cell phone bill. I recommend that you get that if you travel for business.
But Valerie, so if you have, some people have it on their phone. Now, is that, why would you get a separate one versus the phone? Are there security reasons why you want to do that?
I find that this device is actually faster than my phone.
Yeah, okay.
Although, you don't necessarily have to have a separate device, but I recommend having a separate device.
Yeah. It's better safe than sorry. And, you spend a little more money now and save a lot of money later. The other thoughts that you have for, I don't know if there are other stories you want to share. I have a whole bunch of other questions, but.
There are a bunch of stories. I'm going to defer some of those stories. What I do want to share again, and what I do want to reiterate, is that it is so important to have a solid computer policy for your company, and also to have an incident response plan. It's just your playbook.
Right.
Any critical data, you have to make sure you have backups, and try at least, no matter how small your business is, you don't realize how critical that one file or that one contract is until it's behind a wall with the clocks ticking down on it. So those particular things, there's nothing wrong with printing them out, putting them in a binder, and placing it in the safe.
So again, that's great. That's great advice. When we're thinking about, about technology and about hotspots and about all this stuff, what about apps? Are apps dangerous? Everybody's downloading an app. Is that something to worry about with apps? And we're almost at the end of time, so I want to get this and anything else you want to say.
So apps are definitely one of the things that I do whenever I'm looking to do an acquisition of an application is if it's not an off-the-shelf app, if it's a product that I'm buying from a vendor where someone is coming in to sell me a particular product, I want to know how much money goes back into their research and development, because that tells me the life cycle of that particular application and how serious they are with the security of the app. Third-party apps is the second largest cause of incidents. More people are hacked through the HVAC system that's tied into their computer network, or that third-party vendor application that they have. That's where a lot of the hacks occur. So your third-party vendors are critically important. And also what you should know is you need to check your insurance policies, because if you are breached because of your third-party vendor, your policy may not be valid.
Interesting. So smart homes may not be as smart as we think they are. Is what we're saying? Well, Val, this always goes quickly, and so we're actually at the end of time. I don't know if there's a final word you want to say, but this has been incredibly informative. and you've had some great stuff to share. Any final word before we go?
Yes, I would like for everyone to make sure that they check the last time their computer did a virus scan and update, and also check to see if there was anything within that virus scan. It's very easy to check. It happens all the time. And then it asks you if you want to report. Take a look at it. If you don't know what it means, ask your technology support person. Have a computer policy in place today. If you do not have one, they're very easy to write. There are a lot of templates out there to use. Definitely create your incident response template and get cybersecurity insurance. One last thought, 45% of small businesses have experienced some type of computer breach in 2019, and the number is growing.
Yep.
Most small and medium-sized companies, when they experience a breach, they are out of business within 6 months.
Wow, wow. Well, that's great. That's great information. Valerie, it's wonderful. Again, you can find her on LinkedIn if you want to continue the conversation. And this is so much stuff we may have you on again. So thank you very much. Thank you for watching Family Business World, and we will see you next week.